Hello, and how are you today? And how's your work-life balance? Sometimes it can feel like it's too much work, too much effort to even try and get a work-life balance going on. But of course, if you're between jobs or if you've been made redundant, you might be feeling like there's too much time in your hands and you've got too much of the life side of things and not enough of the work side of things. So tell me in the comments, how is your work-life balance on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is, oh my goodness, shocking, something needs to happen, and 10, brilliant, I've got it all together, I don't even know why I'm watching. Okay, work-life balance, so much to talk about here, right? But I need to keep it snappy this morning. So we have been conditioned to imagine that exhaustion is normal. You know, we've been brought up to believe that working hard gives you that badge of honour. You know, oh, he's a grafter, she's a grafter. Those were compliments when I was growing up. I don't know about you. And, you know, we had a conversation about this a while ago, didn't we, about busy, you know, oh God, I'm so busy. You know, it's this same kind of thing about this conditioning that, you know, we should be working all hours if we're going to be successful, and you know, if we want to get on, we've got to work really hard. So let's dispel this myth. Let's get rid of this limiting belief. When you work yourself too hard over long periods of time, you know, consistently, you are going to face burnout at some stage. It's not sustainable, it's not big, it's not clever. So let's stop and actually think about work-life balance and what it means. First of all, we think of work-life balance as being the perfect work-life balance as being 50-50. Okay, and that's not realistic for everybody, and I don't really think it should be. For some people, having a lot of work and some life is great. At different times in your life, it might be good to have more space in your personal life and less work going on. So my question to you is to think about, what does the ideal work-life balance look like for you at this point in your career, at this point in your life? So, for example, when I was young and enthusiastic and full of verve in my 20s, I was really happy to work very, very long hours and put in all the hours and get all the work done. Although even at that young age, you know, it was what I was doing then was building the kind of default for working all the time and forgetting that actually maybe hobbies and life outside of work would be good too. We had this mantra in my old job that was work hard, play hard. And I'm glad to see that young people now are living their lives a lot more healthily than we did. But, you know, it was not unusual for us to be working very, very long hours in retail and then partying very, very long hours all through the night, and then getting up and doing it all again the following day. And this went on for me right through my 30s and into my 40s. So, you know, you can do it, and some people can do it for longer than other people, but I got to a point where I felt, do you know what I mean? This is a bit much now. And I really needed to make those changes. But I was in denial, and I think a lot of us are in denial about how hard we work and what we're doing to our bodies, to our health, to our family time, to all of the things that are really actually very, very important in anybody's life. So for me, you might have seen me posting about this recently on social media. For me, first thing that happened was I slipped a disc sitting in my ergonomically designed office chair. That was back in 2012. And I was in awful pain, and I was off work for 13 weeks, which gave me some space to think about my life and think about things. I'd never had any time off like that before, ever. So that was a new experience for me. And I realised that I did need to make some changes, but I also realised that I didn't want to be thought of as that person who went off sick with a bad back and never came back again. You know, there had been a few of those people in my life who I had probably judged harshly for doing that, and I didn't want to be judged in that way myself. So I went back to work, and then it took another big thing in my life really to push me to quit my job and do something different with my life and make that change. And that was when the tree fell on my head in Prague. So if you don't know that story, I haven't got time for it today, but you can read about it on my website or message me and I'll tell you about it. But look, the thing is here, your job should support your life, not consume it. Balance doesn't mean doing less, it means doing the right things in the right environment with the right support. It's not about being lazy either, it's about being intentional. If your current role doesn't allow for a life outside of work, guess what? It might not be the right role for you. You can love what you do and still have time to do all of the other things outside of work that you want to do. It's might be watching Netflix, it might be spending time in nature, it might be just taking a nap. You know, it's okay, and actually quite highly recommended. What I'm trying to say to you is you don't have to choose between your ambition and your well-being. There are ways to do both of those things, to look after both of those things, and that's an outdated mindset, not to mention a limiting belief. We need to leave it behind. So if you're feeling like you've had burnout or you're close to burnout, please understand this is not some kind of personal failure. It's just a signal that something is not quite aligned in what you're doing. And you don't need to stay stuck in that situation. You can change. I just like to finish with this really. I was going to say, if you want support, as ever, I'm here to give you that support and help. Book your career clarity session. It's free. It's the ideal way of getting started. Hi Luke, I can see you watching. This is great. Thank you very much for being there. And I think there's a couple of other people as well, which is nice. But the other thing is something that's stuck in my mind. Maybe it'll stick in yours too. We've all heard that phrase, life is not a dress rehearsal. You only get one life. For me to understand that, it had to be written in a slightly different way. And I read it in a fantastic book called Free Range Humans by Marianne Cantwell. And she wrote, if you only had one life, what would you do with it? You have, you know. Caught me right there. At that time in my life, I thought, well, I wouldn't be spending all of it selling sofas, as much as I loved my career in furniture retail. I wouldn't spend my whole life selling sofas if I only had one life. That was a big trigger for me to say, right, do you know what? I'm going to do something about this. If you're at that stage too, do something about it. I'll be here again tomorrow. Last one tomorrow in this series on limiting beliefs. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about how your dream job is waiting for you. So if you have that limiting belief that is, I don't know if I'll ever find my dream job, be here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye.